Hi and welcome or welcome back to Love on the Brain. I'm your host, Kay Van Dunk, and I help independent women who are single, divorced, or widowed find their soulmates while staying true to their high standards. In each episode, we dive into a question you may have about love, share some insights, and then reframe it with an affirmation, also called an ask-formation, to help you lift your spirits. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a great review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. Your reviews help other amazing singles find this podcast. Now let's jump in. Maybe you're ready to finally call in your soulmate, but here's the kicker. After years of being single and figuring out what you want and getting really clear on that, maybe your standards are so high that they're actually more about what's on the surface and less about what really matters in a relationship. So today I want to talk about the fine line between having high standards and being a little bit delusional. And we've all been there. Maybe you have a list of must-haves like, he's got to be at least 6 feet tall, established in his 6+ figure career, have a great body, good dresser, owns his own house or home, on and on and on. But here's the truth that you may not want to hear. Those high standards, they aren't the deeper things that create a soul deep connection. And you're looking for your soul mate, and that's something that requires going deeper than what's surface level. So think about it. Are you really looking for someone who matches you on the inside? Searching for someone who complements your soul? Or are you looking for someone who looks a certain way or has a certain lifestyle or shows up a certain way in the world? Because if you're leaning too heavily on physical traits or status, you're opening that door a little bit wider to delusion, because you could be expecting something from someone that doesn't really matter or matters less than it should in the search for somebody who's going to be your complement. And maybe even in some cases, maybe expecting more out of that person than you even have to offer yourself. So let's be real. You're expecting someone to be maybe perfect or close to perfect in all these external ways, but if you haven't put in that work to align yourself with that vision, then you might be delusional, right? This isn't about being perfect yourself. It's about being aligned with the energy that you want in your soulmate. If you want someone who's kind, loving, and emotionally available, but you haven't necessarily worked on some of those things in your life, that's a disconnect. And now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying that you need to have everything figured out, or you need to be years in therapy done, and you need to make sure that you're coming into the relationship absolutely buttoned up. It's nice, but we're people. And as people, we're always going to be a work in progress. You don't have to have everything figured out before you meet your soulmate. What I'm saying is you still need to be the best version of yourself that you can be right now. And that doesn't mean being perfect. It means being someone who embodies some or most of the qualities that they're looking for in a partner. Here's a little truth bomb for you. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If you want someone who's confident, then I'm going to need you to step into that confidence yourself. If you want someone who's healthy and takes care of their body, you need to do the same. If you want someone who's emotionally available, you need to ask yourself if you're emotionally available, or are you holding on to past baggage that's blocking real love from coming in? Come on now. Some of these questions we need to ask ourselves. And like I said, you may be 2 out of 3 of these things. But if your wish list is completely opposite of who you are, really take a step back and ask yourself why that is. Because your soulmate is not meant to be the person who fixes you or fills in every gap in your life that you haven't healed yet. The right person for you will amplify your best qualities, not make up for every little thing that you lack. They will meet you where you are, but you always have to keep your eye and mind on how far off are you from what you're seeking in your soulmate. So let's talk about magic, right? There's a little bit of attraction and a little bit of gray area and a little bit of magic that we always have to be open to in looking for our soulmate. And we all want that soul shaking connection, right? But here's the reality. Magic doesn't come from focusing on a checklist of physical traits or superficial requirements. Magic comes from alignment. And magic is not something you create. Magic is something you have to leave room for. So when you're working on being your best self, whether it's getting healthier or becoming a little bit more open or improving your self-love, you'll start attracting a partner who's aligned with your energy. And you don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be open. And in that openness is where you're leaving room for the magic to come in. So you're showing up as your best version of yourself, but your best version is not your perfect version, right? That's the main distinction. So when you're truly in alignment, you'll find that your soulmate will meet some of those areas that you maybe need a little bit more help with. And they'll walk beside you and they'll be able to enhance you. That's where the real magic happens. It's when two people bring their best selves to a relationship and really move forward in creating something amazing together. So I know the original question was, am I delusional in looking for love? And we're going to reframe that with an affirmation, which is, how did grounding myself attract my soulmate? And that's, how did grounding myself attract my soulmate? Just be working on the best qualities that you want in a partner, because water seeks its own level. So, are you delusional? Maybe, if your standards are based on superficial expectations. But if you're doing that inner work, you're showing up and you're moving forward every day trying to get better, then you'll realize that you're going to attract a soulmate who is more aligned with you. And that is when the real magic happens. Before we close, I always love to focus on gratitude because it is the highest vibration of all. So take a moment. What is one thing that you're grateful for right now? As always, I'm grateful that you tuned into my podcast. I love you for listening. And remember, when love is on the brain, asking better questions can lead to better results.